Hello and welcome to Dits on YouTube and another live review of the NXT Great American Bash, but this time, Night 2. I do have a slight disclaimer for this review though. I fell asleep. It was late. I actually had every intention of obviously staying up for the show and then doing this review. That's what it was all about. So I thought I'll have a 45-minute power nap and then I'll have like 10 minutes to make myself a coffee, get myself nice and relaxed, get ready for the show. That 45 minutes turned into an hour and a half. So I actually didn't wake up until I think it was just as the Johnny Gargano and Swerve match ended. So I was like, oh, no way. I've got this live review to do. It's essentially near the end of the show. And I think it was the Mercedes match after that. I was like, I've missed Night 2 of the Great American Bash. And I'm supposed to be reviewing it in an hour's time. This is really bad. And I really want to do it. So I went back, missed the Mercedes match, went straight back to watch Candice and Mia Yim. And then skipped forward to watch the main event, Keith Lee versus Adam Cole. And then it finished at 3 a.m. And I was like, hang on a minute. I didn't actually start live streaming last week until 3:30. So I could probably get away with fitting a couple of matches in here. So I went back again and watched Swerve and Johnny Gargano. And then I watched the 6-man tag. So I think I've actually watched enough of NXT Great American Bash Night 2 to justify doing a live review tonight. But before we get into that, we'll just a few plugs. Just a few plugs while you're here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because these live streams are going to be ever present on here now. So NXT every week. SmackDown, it'll either be watch-alongs, live reactions, or a live review after the show. It just depends on timings and if I'm awake. It's really busy. It's a big problem for UK fans. It really is. And I don't know if anybody caught that trailer before they jumped in the stream for the GM mode, a new series coming to the Dits on Wrestling podcast. That starts on the 18th of July with a draft. I'm really excited for this. It's exclusively the only thing we're going to be doing on the DOWPOD for that 5-week period. So if you don't like it, I apologize in advance, but just stick with it because it's going to be really, really good. If you liked the GM modes from the SmackDown vs. Raw games all those years ago and are clamoring for the return, and also if you're not a big fan of WWE's booking at the moment, hopefully Ant and I are going to right some wrongs with this series and just make it enjoyable because it's all coming from our heads, all our booking, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really, really fun. And hit that like button as well because algorithms, I don't know what that is. I don't know what the like button does or if it makes any difference, but just hit that anyway and hit the little bell as well. So you know whenever I'm live or whenever a video goes live. There you go. Plugs out of the way. Out of the way. Let's get into NXT's show. Now, kicking off, we had Candice LeRae versus Mia Yim, which is a good way to kick off any show with a street fight. And you could say that it was thrown together last week just so we had a semblance of a card on this week's show. And I think that was the case for a lot of things last week. You had the 6-man tag for tonight that was just thrown together because Breezango came down and kind of built it all up. But it doesn't really matter with regards to Candice and Mia because they've had a thing going on for a little while now. And it's been fun. It has been fun. You know, Candice turned heel and, you know, she's trying to find her footing, you know, as part of that new alignment. She's had some fun matches with Johnny Gargano in the mixed tags with Keith Lee and Mia Yim. So it was only right that we eventually came to this point between Candice and Mia. And apparently they're only the second street fight in NXT that have involved the women. Of course, the first one being Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox. I want to say NXT Portland. I might be wrong, but I think that's when it was. And that was a great little street fight. So I had high expectations. High expectations. And of course, Johnny Gargano has succeeded in street fights as well in his NXT career. So hopefully that's merged with what Candice could deliver. And I think they did. Ultimately, I think they delivered in this street fight. It was a fun opening. It was hard hitting in places. It was brutal in places. And it had a great finish. An amazing finish. But it's nice to see Candice LeRae kind of finally settling into that heel persona that she now has. And I think there's been a few opportunities where she's had to kind of really eat into it since she turned. But having a street fight, what better way to do it? Because then you can kind of develop those heel tendencies as you go along. And there were some cool spots around. There was a really potentially injury-worthy one when Mia Yim threw Candice off that little staging area onto the table that had oranges and bananas, and she landed just off the table. I'd say she went through the table, but the head was off the table. So I thought, if that could have been a lot rougher, she could have smacked her head on the freaking concrete. And of course, the big finish was the swinging neck breaker off the table, which had been placed over the turnbuckle. I love that spot. So many times you get disappointed with a chair spot where you've got piles of chairs and nothing happens. You're just like, there's chairs there. You can literally just go, there's chairs. They're there for destruction and hitting people on it. Harken back to that backlot brawl between Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream. He could have hit his Dream Valley Driver on Adam Cole onto those chairs, and he didn't. He just kind of bypassed it, which seemingly took more effort and energy than not to hit the chairs. It was weird. But I was just like, there's a pile of chairs there. Why didn't you do it? Of course, Adam Cole would later use it with the Panama Sunrise, but they're there to be landed on. That's the whole point in this pile of chairs. If you're going to throw chairs in there, land on them. And they landed on him. And I also liked, before we even got to that point, the brass knucks. I love the introduction of those brass knucks. William Regal. I bet he was grinning ear to ear following that little spot. But we didn't get to see them used, really. She hit the chair with them. And of course, when they went up top, Candice managed to pry them away before hitting that big finish. And picking up a very important win. And I think Candice needed it more than Mia. So I think they've gone the right way with Candice picking up the win here. Of course, you know, she, like I said, she needs to settle into that heel role. Having her in this match, doing some of the stuff she did, and picking up the win at the end, she needed it. Gargano's been doing well on the victory front since he turned heel again. So it was only right that Candice kind of followed suit. So I don't know if this is the end of Candice and Mia. I hope it is, because this is the kind of match where you can stop. It's a feud ender, street fights and all that kind of stuff. So you'd like to think that this is over. But if it's not, maybe Candice and Mia Yim can be the new Gargano and Ciampa. They've proved they can go with this street fight, and they could both put on some decent matches. I mean, look at Mia Yim. I mean, I obviously I've made it known. I made it known last week that I'm not the biggest Mia Yim supporter. I'm just not. I can't click with the character. I don't know what it is, but she really impressed me last week in that Fatal 4-Way match. And she impressed me again this week. So maybe she's starting to win me over. Maybe she's winning me over. But only time will tell. But if she starts feuding with Candice for the long run and continues this thing that they've got going on, who knows? Who knows? We could get some magic. We could get some magic. And then, obviously, I fell asleep. So I missed the next match, which I believe was a thrown together, unless they had like a little backstage thing that was played, or earlier today, Bronson Reed versus Tony Nese, which on paper would actually be, a decent match. They're both more than capable. Bronson Reed is a very agile big man, much like Keith Lee, who we'll talk about later. But Bronson Reed's bigger than Keith Lee and can still do some stuff. So it impresses the hell out of me when guys like that can jump off the top rope and flip around and sentons and all this kind of stuff, when I struggle to get out of this chair. So kudos to them. I only saw highlights for this match. I saw Tony Nese doing some jumping jacks or star jumps, and I saw Reed hitting a senton, and then the big splash off the top for the win. Well, I don't know. For me, Tony Nese, I think Tony Nese is actually really, really good. He's very, very talented, a very, very, very good cruiserweight. But I don't think anything's really going to come of him. He had the cruiserweight title early last year. And it was an okay reign. It didn't blow anybody's minds, but he still managed to hold it. But I think his ceiling's very low, and it's not anything to do with him. In ring, he's fantastic. I remember watching him in the Cruiserweight Classic and just being like, Jesus. And that was just his abs. Never mind what he could do in the ring, which was hella impressive, and still is. There's not one time he wrestles where I don't get impressed by what he can do. It's amazing. It's just that it's just not going to be anything more than it is now. He's just going to be there to put over other guys, I think, which is a shame. Unless he ditches this premier athlete stuff and kind of starts a new gimmick and goes from there. But I honestly don't know how that would... I don't even know how it would even get to that point. I think sometimes you just need to be in the right place at the right time when it comes to gimmicks. I mean, look at Raul Mendoza with the Phantasma Legend little faction they got going on. Right place, right time. Like, he's now in the spotlight and killing it. But Tony Nese is a guy that I think that's going to struggle in his career in NXT, and that's a shame. It is a shame. But Bronson Reed, however, there seems to be a real lack of direction with Bronson Reed. Initially, he started out strong. You had this big guy who could be dominant. He could play a heel or a face quite easily. And, he picked up some solid wins to begin his NXT career. And then kind of fell away. And then started picking up losses. But then, I think it was 3-4 weeks ago, he had the run-in with I keep nearly calling him Killer Cross. Karrion Kross had his run-in with Karrion Kross, and then as soon as you're labeled like arguably one of the most talked about people in NXT right now, that's a good thing. Especially when you call him out. Especially when you call Kross out. That's got eyes on you. And immediately did. Of course, he ended up losing the match that they had together, but you were still in that position where you kind of gave Kross a little bit of a push in the match, a little bit of a step back that Ciampa couldn't really even do. But ultimately, he lost, which is a shame. But he still called out Kross. Had the balls to do it. And I think they're slowly starting to do something with him. Where it goes, I don't know. But I think this guy is capable of doing some good stuff. And when you look at the mid-card on NXT, it looks really good. Like, NXT... for me, NXT, it's not what it was all those years ago. I mean, my favorite times were Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Nakamura. That was my key point. my favorite time. But then you fast forward a little bit, you got Aleister Black, Andrade, Gargano, Ciampa, American Alpha, Revival. So there's always been really good periods of NXT. And I think there was a slight lull maybe a year ago, but now he seems to be coming back in. And it's developing all these people like Bronson Reed, like your Cameron Grahams. Guys like that, you need to keep building them up to get to that point where you can go look at this mid-card. Just look at it. So they got Bronson Reed, Cameron Grahams, Damian Priest, Killian Dane. Could you count Keith Lee as me? Well, not anymore. Spoiler. It's not like it wasn't spoiled already, though, right? With the North American Championship, the mid-card title. I'm not going to put Johnny Gargano in the mid-card. Kind of upper mid-card, really, isn't it? And so is Finn Balor. But you got loads of guys. Swerve is in that mix as well. I guess Drake Maverick is in there, and Escobar's in there. There's plenty of people. And is Dijakovic still in NXT, or is he gone? I think he was like hyping up some kind of SmackDown or Raw debut, but I don't know what's going on with that. But if he's still on NXT, he's part of that mid-card as well. Amazing stuff. So it's looking good. It's looking good for NXT in that mid-card. And, I mean, the main event speaks for itself. You've got, obviously, the Undisputed Era are up there. Keith Lee, Adam Cole, Finn Balor. Dexter Lumis. How did I forget about Dexter Lumis? He's in the mid-card. NXT is in a great place. It is in a great place. But we fast forward to Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Johnny Gargano, a match that I just watched before I pressed to go live on YouTube tonight. I want to see more. I think they only scratched the surface with this. This was one of those things that got thrown together last week just because Swerve got involved with trying to pull people apart. It quickly thrown together to get this card a thing, more than just 3 matches. So, let's throw Gargano and Swerve together because they looked at each other for 2 seconds last week. I don't really care if that's the case. So many matches on NXT TV and Raw and SmackDown get done that way. I remember Chris Jericho spilling coffee on Kane, and that turned into a match. Stuff like that. I don't really care. But Johnny Gargano and Swerve breathed on each other, so they now have a match. And it was really good. Their styles mesh really, really well. Both super athletic guys, especially Swerve. Some of the stuff he was doing, like, I love the fake out thing where they kind of like pump back and then do the pop up. I think Johnny Gargano even went for a punch or a kick and like he kind of dive back and then flip. I do a live demonstration, but I would literally break my neck, so I'm not going to do that. But hey, anything can happen on live TV, though. I say it's live TV. Maybe I should get a TV gig. Maybe. Who knows? We'll see where this stuff goes, shall we? But their styles do mesh incredibly well, and I think they told a good story. And at some point, I actually thought, Candice won earlier on in the night. Gargano has been more or less on... Okay, he's got more wins than losses since turning heel, so maybe Gargano could lose this one and give a little bit of a rub to Swerve. But regardless of the fact that obviously wasn't the case, I think the way Swerve, or how he performed in this match, has given him a rub anyway. And rightfully so, because every time I see Swerve, I don't really know much about him like pre-NXT. But what I've seen of him in NXT is amazing. Like, the guy can do some stuff. Like, he can really, really do some stuff. And I really hope that goes somewhere. I hope he stays away from the Cruiserweight division. I don't even know what 205 Live is like anymore. I haven't watched that show for about a year. I honestly don't know what's happening with it. In fact, I don't even know if it's still on. Is it still on? Is 205, if you're watching this now, is 205 Live still a thing? Just fire off in the chat. I actually genuinely don't know. I guess it is. I guess. But let's keep Swerve away from that and give him something like solid to do on NXT. I see him every single week or more, or every other week. Just start building him into. I'd like to have him continue this feud with Gargano. To be completely honest, like that was such a fun little match. But like I said, it only scratched the surface. There is so much more that can be done with these two. I mean, you put these guys on a takeover where pretty much every match delivers. Just think about that. Like, that would be tremendous on a takeover. I mean, I don't really count this as a takeover, but I guess it's a special. But it was more of what you would see if they just wrestled on NXT TV. But throw this on a takeover, I'm not saying they don't put the effort in, but that effort is seemingly doubled on takeovers where everything is like near perfect on takeover events. So let's just, we've got the SummerSlam one coming up. I think that's the next takeover. I don't know where it is. Maybe have that. Gargano versus Swerve at NXT TakeOver. We are all the winners. We're all the winners. We are. But it was a real fun match. And of course, Johnny Gargano ended up picking up the victory. So it was a really good night for the Garganos. Of course, Candice won earlier on in the night. And Johnny Gargano won there. So they're going to have a great dinner at home, I would imagine. They're going to have a great dinner. And we're going to see it next week on NXT TV. More than likely. Yay for us. Yay for us. I find it bizarre, those candlelit dinner vignettes and skits and whatever they are. It's weird. I don't get it. Dinner at home with the Garganos. Do you want to see me eating on this stream? I'll talk about a match and then I'll just, I don't know, eat a roast chicken. Do you want to see that? Of course you don't. Nobody wants to see that. Not one person. And then we go into the 6-man tag. I think it was the 6-man tag next. Yes, it was the 6-man tag next. Unless there was... I think there was other stuff that happened for the show. I think we had a video package with Io Shirai and Tegan Nox. Didn't see that. And then I think Shotzi Blackheart ran over Robert Stone's leg. I don't know if I dreamt that when I was having my power nap. Was that a thing? I'm pretty sure I saw us running him over in a tank. Could things get any worse for Robert Stone? Probably not. I'm going to run over a tank. Brilliant. Brutal. And people compare that to AEW. I bet they do. They go, oh, well, you know, AEW, the golf cart ran over Sammy Guevara or whatever it was. And, oh, yeah, the copy. No, it's not. But they will make that connection. They will make that connection. And I said it last week and I'll say it again this week. Be a WWE fan, be an AEW fan. Be a fan of both. It doesn't really matter. We all win. We all win. As far as from what I saw from being awake, tonight's show was good. The Great American Bash. I don't know about the AEW side, but again, my timeline is full of AEW. And I don't remember seeing anything bad about it. Apparently, the Orange Cassidy match was good with Jericho. I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch it. But who are the real winners here? You, me, and all the fans of wrestling. So stop complaining about the others. Don't be a mark. Just like wrestling. Who cares? Who cares if you like AEW? Who cares if you like WWE? Gives a shit. Doesn't matter. Anyway, 6-man tag. We had... I really need to learn their name. It's like Phantasma. It's like Phantasma Legend, but in Spanish. El Phantasma Legend. I don't know. Is that it? Either way, Santos Escobar, Raul Mendoza, and Joaquin Wilde. I think it said Joaquin Phoenix. In his Joker getup. Now, Joaquin Wilde. I am really, really liking this trio. I like the entrance. I like the look. I like the premise. I'm all in. I'm all in on this thing. It's great, and I love the fact that their first foil is Drake Maverick, the ultimate underdog, facing off against these three guys. But of course, he had help this week in the shape of Breezango, hence the 6-man tag. And it was a fun, again, it was a fun little match. It's nothing that you wouldn't see on NXT as a standard, but it was a fun match. And I like the fact it was building towards Drake and Escobar having their little scuffle, but Fandango was really the centerpiece for the most part. And since he's got back, I mean, he kind of came back from injury with like little fan. It was so random; it didn't really have any fanfare to it. But since he's come back, he's looking really, really. I mean, not to say he wasn't good before, but he's looking fantastic at the moment. And I really, I love Imperium, or Emporium, as they like to say. I really love Imperium. So them holding the NXT Tag Championships for a little while longer, I'm happy. But I would love to see Breezango as tag team champions at some point, because I love those two guys together. I hope they never split up. I hope that the Fashion Police make some kind of return. The Fashion Files make some kind of return. They're just such a fun team. They are genuinely hilarious, which you can't really say much in wrestling. You know, you get wrestling tries to be funny a lot, and there's so many misses on that front. A lot of misses on that front, but they are actually genuinely capable of doing it, which is great. But when they get in the ring, their styles completely work together. They can turn it on and be serious in the ring. It's not like what they did with the Usos all those years ago when they were in the infancy and they kind of kept dressing up as janitors and old women and stuff like that, which was fun, but that didn't really showcase what they could do. But in NXT, I'm getting a flavor for what they can do together as a serious in-ring team, and they can deliver. And Fandango delivered in this match. Tyler Breeze, when he was in the ring, delivered his side. And when you look at the trio, Phantasma's lot, Escobar's little crew, I think this is their first match since they've become a group. I'm pretty sure of that. I thought they looked good. I did think they looked good. You know, for me, because I'm so invested in them, I wanted them to come away from this looking strong and picking up a win. I think they really needed to win this to kind of go, look, we can do all this beating down stuff. Like, we can put Drake Maverick through a table on the concrete. We can do all that. But if you can't translate that into the ring and pick up some wins and look good in doing so, what's the point? What is the point? But I like the way the finish went. You really wanted Drake Maverick to get in there with Escobar. I think it was Joaquin Wild distracted Tyler Breeze as Fandango was going for the tag. So Tyler Breeze hopped down, which meant Drake Maverick was the guy going in. So we had Drake Maverick and Escobar for a very short period. Drake Maverick came in off the hot tag, hit a couple of forearm smashes, knocking Escobar down. And then out of nowhere, he hits... I can't even remember. It's a Phantasma driver. It's some kind of driver. Right on Drake Maverick's neck, of course, feeding into the continuity of what's going on with them and the move that they did 2 weeks ago on the concrete, same move. And then it was over. That was it. I thought we were going to have a little bit more, but I love the abrupt ending. I think it fed into everything nicely. It's nice. I was like, whoa. I was like, is Drake going to kick out of this? Because I seem to have a little bit more time left. No. Match over. So Escobar just comes in, does what he needs to do. Bang. Drake, you're out. And I hope this feud continues. I really do. Drake Maverick seems to be the perfect first rival of this new faction. And whether Breezango will continue as NXT goes on in the weeks, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe they can feud all together, but they just branch off and start feuding with Mendoza and Wild, and Drake Maverick will focus on Escobar. I don't know how it's going to go, but as long as Drake is in there, we're in for some good stuff, because he needs to get a little bit of redemption, really, doesn't he? You know, he's turning into like the ultimate underdog, and he really is. He really is. So I'll be interested to see where this thing develops. And by the way, this is a very small thing. It's a very small thing, but it's something I enjoy every time I see it. I don't know why. It's just something so little. Rey Mysterio does it as well. Like when he goes to the ropes, because they're small guys, they just bounce. It's what I would do. And obviously, instead of just going like the full like rope re-round kind of thing, they bounce off the middle rope. And Drake Maverick does it all the time, and I think it looks great. I don't know why I even brought it up. I just enjoy seeing it. It's weird. But then he just did a normal one shortly after that. But then that ended up with him losing the match. So maybe you need to keep bouncing off the middle rope, Drake. Don't start copying other people. If you want to bounce off the middle rope, my friend, then you bounce off the middle rope. Don't change your ways, because then you end up landing on your neck and losing the match. So that's what I'm putting it down to. I don't know what happened after this, apart from Mercedes Martinez is back. I think she debuted like months ago, and I think she won, and then just disappeared. But now she's back. It was advertised that she was back. She was against Santana Garrett, I think. I don't know. That's what I'm going with. And she won. She did win that match. So I don't know how the match went. I don't know how she won the match. Apparently it was this monster. I don't know. Is she a heel? I don't know. Was it? She's a monster heel. It was a dominating win. I don't know how it all went. I honestly don't know. But I might go back and watch it. That was one of the things I was just like, if I'm going to miss anything out of the show, it's going to be that, because it's going to be like a squash, like a couple of minute thing. So I can go back and watch that on YouTube or whatever tomorrow morning. So I went, straight into the main event, shall we? Let's not mess around here. But I want to talk about something before. I guess this is linked to the main event, so it's relevant. I'm going to go straight to the finish of the match as well. Keith Lee is the new NXT champion and the first dual holder of the singles titles available in NXT. How amazing is that? How amazing is that? I should have a bigger smile on my face. I should be more enthusiastic. But I'm not, because it was spoiled for me. It was spoiled for me. That, and I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but it sucked everything out of that finish. Because that finish, I wouldn't say it came out of nowhere, but you see these kinds of matches all the time, and you would think that Adam Cole was going to kick out of that right at the end. But he didn't. It just kind of ended. And nobody would have expected that watching it. Forget the spoilers. Like, the spoilers don't exist. You know, we're watching this for fresh eyes. Like, you would pop hard because you're not expecting it to end so soon. But because it got spoiled, I don't know. I was just like, oh, there we go. That's it. Keith Lee is. I'm not taking anything away from Keith Lee. I think it's awesome. I think it's amazing that he's now NXT champion. It's something I predicted at the start of the year on my podcast. There we go. Find it. There we go. The Dits on Wrestling podcast. I predicted it on the show back in January that Keith Lee would be NXT champion at some point this year. So it's good to see that I was right in that case. However, just any momentum this thing could have had, any pop that could have been generated from this win was just sucked away by this spoiler. I can't remember who spoiled it, but whoever you are in NXT, you're an absolute prick. Honestly, it still pains me. I think 45 minutes ago, I watched the end of that match. Oh no, I finished at 3, so an hour ago, I finished watching that match, and I wouldn't say I felt deflated, but it was such a good match. And they I was like, oh well, maybe they take multiple endings, because that's what I saw going around, and maybe Adam Cole's going to pick up the win. And then the spoiler meant nothing, and I'd be like, oh, that's awesome, hey, Adam Cole won, but that didn't happen. So what can we do? What can you tape stuff, and these leaks are always a potential thing, but you wouldn't expect them to come from like internally, would you? Fucking idiot. Mind my French, but fucking idiot. Ruining my wrestling experience. Arsehole. But anyway, that's the negative side of things, and I hope it didn't bother anybody else as much as bothered me. Like, it really has bothered me. But the match itself was actually really good. I preferred this match over the Shirai and Sasha match last week. I don't know why, I just did. Because I said last week on the review for night 1, I think I hyped that match up so much that it just failed to live up to that. It was a good match, don't get me wrong. It was a good match. It just failed to live up to the hype. Whereas this match, I think even because it got spoiled, so maybe it swings and rounds about, find the bright side, it killed the hype a little bit. But I knew it was going to be a good match, and it was. It was a very, very good match. And Adam Cole, surprisingly, had the upper hand for a lot of it. I mean, you look at Adam Cole, and then you look at Keith Lee. I mean, there's Adam Cole. He's a skinny dude. And then you look at Keith Lee. Big dude. What do you expect to really happen there? But I can't even. I'm looking at the screen trying to point. This guy is the guy that is going to dominate that match, isn't he? So that's just not the way it went. Initially, when we started, it was. But then action spilled to the outside. Adam Cole sidestepped one of his little shoulder charges, and he went through the plexiglass. And it knocked him for 6. And Adam Cole took full advantage. He was hitting net breakers, super kicks. Like, he was all over Keith Lee, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute. Adam Cole's getting most of this in. He's getting most of the time on top. And it was good. It was good to see. I'm glad they went that way rather than Keith Lee being just completely dominating all the way and just using his size advantage. But with Adam Cole being on top for the periods that he was, it meant when Keith Lee did make a charge and did use his power, like the superplex he used. Oh, man, that was an incredible superplex to Adam Cole. Or when he'd catch Adam Cole trying to do a last shot, he'd literally just go, Cole, have it. It was moments like that were really cool. And I mean, I said this earlier on when I was talking about Bronson Reed, but Keith Lee should not be able to do the things he does. And I say this about Kevin Owens as well, but Keith Lee's a bigger guy than Kevin Owens, so it's even more impressive. And the fact that he did it on the second rope as well, not even the top rope, he did it off the second rope. He did a full moonsault and hit it, and it looked good. And it wasn't even straight, because I watched the replay at the end of the match. He kind of went off. It wasn't like just. It was like, and he did it perfectly. Like, he managed to adjust and move his body to it. I don't understand how he does it. I honestly don't. I can't do a backflip. I can barely do front roll or a roly-poly. Amazing. Well done for that moonsault. Looked great. That kind of really sums Keith Lee up. The fact that he can do that kind of stuff. He's got the power game. He's got the athletic game. He's got the look. Keith Lee's the whole feckin' package. He really is. And there was stuff like that. I was like, obviously that was never going to win the match. But then Adam Cole would get on top again. And he'd hit the Panama Sunrise and nearly get the free count. And he'd hit a last shot and nearly get a free count. It just wasn't happening for him. And then, like I said, out of nowhere, we get a spirit bomb. And then I forget what is it. Big Catastrophe? Is that the name of Keith Lee's finisher? I can't believe I'm blanking on that. The move, the move. We get that, and then all of a sudden it's over, just like that. Spirit bomb, roll him over, up he goes, bang, slam. 1, 2, 3, deflated win. I hate that. It was a good finish. I love that Adam Cole didn't kick out because it kind of protected a finisher, which is always good to see. And was also unexpected because, like I said, I thought Cole would have kicked out and we would have carried on for a little bit, maybe another 2 or 3 minutes, but we didn't. That's what happened. But fucking spoiler. And you got to think Keith Lee has got to be annoyed, gutted, because the image that I saw was Keith Lee surrounded by pyro and confetti, holding titles. That was the image that I saw, and I never saw any for Adam Cole. I think I was being very hopeful, and I went, they've recorded multiple endings, and we're going to see an Adam Cole. If I saw an Adam Cole one pop up, it would have made a huge difference, because I would have been like, well, I don't know who's going to win then, because I've seen both. I never saw an Adam Cole one, so. But you got to feel for Keith Lee, because he would have known that was about. Like, he's got the NXT title, and he's just, well, I've won it, but people already know that I've won it. It's not even the show yet. Like, it sucks. It's deflated. Oh. But bearing in mind, obviously, I predicted at the start of the year that Keith Lee was going to be a champion, or an NXT champion, at some point this year. And I've always been a big Keith Lee fan, hence why I predicted that. And to see when that moment finally comes, because I honestly didn't think this thing would end cleanly. I didn't think anybody was going to walk away with both belts. I didn't. So, if Keith Lee had won this without the spoilers, I would have popped massively, audibly popped. And if you listen to my stuff often, you'll know I don't do that often. I would have done that for Keith Lee if he won and it wasn't spoiled. So, yeah, this has really annoyed me. It's really pissed me off. And I hate it when stuff like this happens. But, look, it's unavoidable. And at the end of the day, we had a good match between these two guys. We really did. I just don't know where it's going to go from now, because we had Karrion Kross and Scarlett looking down at the celebrations, but they initially did the whole hourglass thing with Adam Cole, but then Keith Lee was the one to destroy that hourglass. So I think now maybe you can have Kross go after Adam Cole, because there's not a title involved now, so it doesn't really, the outcome doesn't really matter as such. Kross can beat Adam Cole without him being given the title too soon. I think if you gave the title to Kross now, I don't think it really matter. He's on fire. He could easily sell the fact that he is the champ, because he's pretty much dominated every win he's had so far. So it wouldn't really make a big difference, really, in the grand scheme of things. But a lot of people think it's too soon. So now that Adam Cole doesn't have the title, he can go after Adam Cole. He can destroy Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era. And then move on to Keith Lee. Because then he would have faced Ciampa. He would have had Adam Cole. And then Keith Lee. And you got Ciampa, the Ciampa thing looming around as well. Because Ciampa's going to want to come back and redeem himself after In Your House, because he got messed around, did Ciampa. So he's going to come back and he's going to be looking to redeem that embarrassing loss. So I guess you could throw that one in the mix as well. So there's plenty of people across the face. It was interesting to see. He's in the picture. That's the thing. He's definitely in the picture. So where it goes from now, I don't know, but I'm interested to see. The NXT landscape has changed massively with this Keith Lee win, or even if Adam Cole win, because you have somebody that's carrying both the men's singles titles. So how does that work going forward? Because if somebody goes, oh well, I want to challenge Keith Lee in this North American title match, well, that's great. You beat him for that title, and you go, well, I beat him, so surely I'm in line for an NXT title shot. And so on and so forth. It's very rare when you see somebody with two titles and seeing it booked. I honestly don't know how. I honestly don't know how it's going to play out going forward, and who's going to be challenging for what belts. But I'm intrigued, and that's the main thing. I'm coming out of this. I want to watch more. I want to see what they do with it. But we'll see. But for the most part, with regards to the Great American Bash Night 2 as a whole, from what I saw, of course, I didn't watch the Tony Nese match fully. I completely blanked on the Mercedes Martinez match. However, from what I saw, it was a very good night of wrestling. I don't know if it was better than night 1, because night 1 was great. I mean, the main event was a letdown. Then you had that Robert Stone match, which was just dreadful. Oh, it really was. But I really don't know. I think if I watched this show without falling asleep, I watched it from start to finish with the street fight, and then the fun 6-man tag and the fun Swerve Gargano match, and then the stuff thrown in around it, and then the main event, maybe night 2 would have been better. But I think just purely for the fact that I was awake for the duration of night 1, I think that was my favorite show. But Keith Lee and Adam Cole is my favorite match of the 2 nights. So I guess there's wins for both nights, really, in the grand scheme of things. So I'm looking forward to where they go next with these themed NXT shows, because In Your House, we've had Great American Bash, and we have October coming up, so maybe we can have Halloween Havoc. Maybe. Fancy bringing that one back? That could be fun. And maybe we'll have fans then as well, because SummerSlam, we now know, is not going to have fans. It's going to be at the PC. And I think, when's that? August. Oh, no, is it? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, SummerSlam's August. And of course, Halloween is 2.5 months later. So, apparently SummerSlam has just missed the boat on that one. So if there are fans, and we've got Halloween Havoc, it'll work. But even if there are no fans, it'll still work. So we'll see how that goes. I'd love to see a Halloween Havoc and loads more. Like, have your NXT takeovers as standard, but then throw these little specials in as well. And I'd be interested to see what NXT do next week as well with Fight for the Fallen on AEW next week? I don't know. I guess. Is that it? Fight for the Fallen? Yeah, Fight Fest has been the last 2 weeks, and then Fight for the Fallen next week. So Triple H was talking about counter programming and all that kind of stuff. Today, I think it was, I read it. So I'll be interested to see what NXT do next week to counteract that, because there are some good matches on that AEW show next week. Some very good matches. So maybe Triple H has got something up his sleeve. Maybe Triple H will wrestle. I'm not ready for that, actually. Triple H only wrestles at WrestleMania. That's his thing now. He can take that from The Undertaker and run with it. But would you like to see Triple H wrestle on an NXT? Like, if he has his last match, I know this is just something random coming to the end of the stream, but it's food for thought. Triple H, he didn't wrestle at this year's WrestleMania. No, he faced Batista, the one before that. If he's going to have one last match, how cool would that be if it was in NXT? Like, he is NXT's dad. You know, he runs that place. That it's his baby. That, you know, the NXT, you know, guys and gals, they're his kids. He loves that place. He's so passionate about NXT. Why not have his last match at a takeover? I know Vince would want it on WrestleMania. Of course he would. But surely it's more fitting to have... I mean, you look at it, the fact that Triple H beat Batista at his last WrestleMania match. Just end it there. Just end... Because who else is Triple H really going to feud with? Like... Batista was the perfect guy to go out with, just as it was Batista for Triple H to be the perfect guy to go out to. So have Triple H have his last match in NXT and have him face somebody who's going to reap the benefits of beating Triple H in his last match. There's plenty of guys in NXT that could use that rub. So many guys. I don't really care. I don't really care who it would end up being, to be honest. There's so many, like Ciampa, Gargano, Damian Priest, Cameron Grimes. Come on, Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes versus Triple H. Let's do it. There's loads of guys. Drake Maverick, imagine that. There's so many guys in NXT who could use that rub. And so many guys who would have like a really, really good match with Triple H. So just have... I don't know. That I'm thinking about it. It just makes sense, doesn't it? It just makes sense to have Triple H have his last match in NXT. Food for thought as we close down this stream or replay if you're watching after the fact. But... as is always the case, guys, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come and watch this. Whether you watched a little bit of it, whether you watched all of it, I don't really care. You were still here to check it out, which is the main thing. Next week, likelihood will be that I'll be doing a live watch-along rather than a review, because we're just back to normal proceedings at the moment, unless we get that counter-programming. Which means I'll have like a nice little chat thing on the screen somewhere. Where you guys can get involved and we can just have a good time watching NXT together. So we can do that rather than me just reviewing the show. And if I'm on camera watching NXT, I won't fall asleep. Unless I do fall asleep, and then that will be used against me forever. Come watch the stream of the Sleeping Man. Riveting stuff. So that'll be next week. This Friday night, I'll be doing the SmackDown live review, so come and check that out. Of course, subscribe to the channel while you're here, like this video, algorithms, and hit that little bell. Hit the bell so you can be notified when I do go live on YouTube and when all my other videos come up, whether it be wrestling or gaming. So make sure you do that, and feel free to comment, feel free to chat. I'm a very open guy. I'll talk to anybody, so I want this to be as interactive as it can be. So yeah, just hit me up, guys. Just hit me up. Let's have a chat. And then go check out, obviously I've got some little things down there, but the main one really is the Twitter. So follow me on @DitsOnWrestling, and yeah, we can just talk wrestling. Just talk wrestling. I'm a positive guy when it comes to wrestling. I rarely have negative things, and if it is negative, it's constructive. So I'm not a filthy mark, okay? I'm not Stan, although I do stand Cameron Grams. Of course I do. I'm never good. After last week's stream where I did this little impression, I just can't outlive that anymore. I just cannot outlive that anymore. And with that, it's the perfect time to say goodbye. Again, thank you so much for checking out the stream or the replay, and I'll see you for the SmackDown live review on Friday night. Bye.